just after about
So
5
that is
minutes.
okay. So we have the case in point. So that to me. Let me just finish, and you can say what you're going to say.
I agree.
This would be my nitpick is that there are a lot of parts of this movie that will go over a lot of people's heads that aren't baseball fans, and I think that a lot of people that aren't baseball fans might not enjoy this movie because of it. I just think that I think if I wasn't as big of a baseball fan, I would not enjoy it as much. That said, this is the caveat. This movie has so much stuff in there that is so good and doesn't have to do necessarily with baseball. Like I said, one of the best parts about this movie to me is that it's really about this guy.
You're just saying it would be hard for somebody just to turn this movie on.
Yeah, if you're not a baseball fan. But let me give the caveat. The caveat is that this movie has so many parts about it that you don't have to care about baseball to enjoy.
You might.
Yeah,
it might surprise you.
You don't have to care about baseball or be a big baseball fan to enjoy this movie because ultimately this movie is about Billy Beane's personal journey from his young days as a high school player. His maturity throughout the years to being able at the end to say, no, I'm not just going to make a decision based on money. That's one of the big arcs in this movie. And there's so many parts of this movie that anybody can enjoy because it's just a great movie. That said, though, my negative will be that there are a lot of parts of this movie that will fly over people's heads, and that they will not understand some of it, and that's
it's not something the movie could help because it's about baseball, but it's true that like if you're like, oh, The Godfather, greatest movie ever, oh, whatever, then if you say, oh, Moneyball, people are like the baseball.
I guess another way to sum up that negative is it doesn't have the biggest appeal range.
It's a small appeal.
Now, but I think if more people watch this movie, they would enjoy it.
Like John's saying, if you actually do turn it on and watch it, you will be surprised, even if you don't care about it.
Yeah.
Because it's not that way. It just seems that way. Because if you see it like Moneyball,
Now, if you're a baseball fan, it's like Moneyball automatically.
Obviously you want to see that.
So did you think?
Like I was talking about with the baseball history, it's good to see.
So that's my only real negative, and it's like I said, it's more of a nitpick. It's more of even just kind of a mixed aspect.
It's just something that's about the movie.
But there's nothing really
because there's nothing they could have done to avoid.
I will say there are a couple moments throughout the movie that were some. I can't think of what they were at the moment, but there were a couple of There's a couple of just lines throughout the movie that I remember just not making sense. Not because they were like baseball stuff. There were a couple lines that didn't logically follow at times in the movies. I can't think of the specific one. Oh, I think one of them was at the beginning, whenever the baseball scouts are all talking, and they're like, they're talking at the beginning of the scene. They're talking about a player, and then they're like, "All right, which one do you want to start with, Billy?" There's a few, and it's like you were already talking about one.
What it looks like is like, in a video game when you go talk to an NPC and you skip to the end. That's looked like what happened in that scene because he was like, "This is literally what happened." He was like, "And he can play, and we need kids who can play." Who do you want to talk about? It's like you were just talking about something.
So there's that's the example I can give, but there's some other lines that I can't think of them at the moment that kind of are a bit odd at times.
I want to say that
I don't follow well.
In my opinion, I rank this movie as a 10 out of 10. Like to me, this movie is perfect because now I understand I'm a baseball guy, but to me, I can't say much is wrong with it because if I think about this movie, there's nothing I would change to improve it. And if that's the case, then I can't really nitpick it. Having said that, I've thought about it hard, and one thing that's about this movie is...
This is the point one.
This is the point one.
9.9. We all have to agree as movie critics.
All right, sure.
There's no perfect movie.
Well, I don't agree with that because I don't think there are perfect movies.
Okay.
But I think that...
I'm the actual...
The one thing I can say about this movie was if you're like, hey grandma, let's watch a movie. Hey mom, let's watch a movie. Hey girlfriend, let's watch a movie. The movie has its feel, like we said, which is a baseball feel, but it's a grimmer, darker feel because the movie there's a lot of disappointment. Billy Beane, his character, his marriage failed, his baseball career didn't work out, and ultimately him being a GM doesn't work out like it wants to, even though it almost did. He had, he could have taken the Red Sox thing. There's a lot of bittersweetness to this movie. When he starts doing this strategy with Peter Brand, he is leprosized. Like, people hate him for it because he's changing baseball. His head scouts, Grady, his head scout, hates him for this. Art Howe hates him for this. And there's a lot of uncomfortable scenes in this movie that are just
awkward,
uncomfortable.
But that's part of
on purpose. I love.
That's
these
part
scenes.
of the realism.
Not saying these are bad scenes. great. Like, it basks in the awkwardness, and I love that. What I'm saying is, like, if you watch this movie, like, just to, like, be happy, that's not a good idea.
I feel like women wouldn't like this.
Women wouldn't like that, and that kind of goes back to it appeals to a smaller.
Although women get to cry.
But every single time my mom walks by and I'm watching this movie, she's like, "Oh, is that the end? I don't want to watch it." You know, it's emotionally kind of hard to handle, which is why the movie is so great.
Like we talked about in the pauses, those emotional scenes that just give you chills.
Yes.
Like two of them, though. One of them that I forgot to mention. The scene of the compilation of the younger Billy Bean talking with the scouts, and then he starts his career and he ends up failing. And that scene with that music in the background is just, it gives me chills.
I want to say I love movies that don't just have a everything's fixed ending.
Oh yeah.
Because they're the ones you think about. So I like this about this movie, but I just want to say, like, watching the whole movie, there's a scene where he has to visit his ex-wife and her husband, and
this is a positive.
This is positive. Like, me and John and Nate are gonna reenact the scene real quick. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, did you make that
heard
decision
about
by yourself?
What?
I heard he lost Jimbani and Isringhausen.
Like, that's how awkward it was. And it's
no, the part about the cell phone is like, she got a phone?
12-year-old.
No. So you're Billy B, and I'm the guy, and you're talking
and
to
you're
her.
his wife.
You're his wife, and you're like,
you have to say the thing.
And I said, and so I'm saying, should we check her cell?
Yeah, you asked him.
Should we check her cell?
Yeah.
Cell phone?
Yeah.
A 12-year-old. Cell phone.
We should
Big parenting decision.
We should have. We wanted to. It's for emergency.
Me and her mother would.
We wanted to discuss it. We should discuss it as a family.
Yeah, it's so awkward and it basks in awkwardness. I like that. But my one tiny nitpick is
that is the best of the awkward.
You will kind of be depressed watching the whole movie because it has a darker, more go to work type of feel to it. So that's all I can say negative about.
I like that, man. That's good insights. All right, that's all we got.
We're done with that. It's a
on the themes.
Themes. This movie has some.
Nate, you want to go first? What's your overarching theme?
Well, y'all went pretty well.
I know we already talked about one. If you want to expound on
seeing value,
yeah.
and things that are value. I had one in mind, but it's lost. I've lost it.
We're making Nate talk for 10 minutes.
What am I gonna? Y'all go. I haven't thought about.
All right, Nate's gonna think of a theme. I'm gonna go ahead and say a theme. A theme in this movie, which I said a little bit, but I'll talk about more, is unseen value. Because ultimately the movie is about Bill James' theory. All right,
it's seeing things through.
All right.
Interesting.
Tell us about it.
Seeing things through because.
Oh, I see that.
Yeah, because he digs himself into a big hole, and he has the opportunity to freak out and just panic, but he doesn't. He stays calm, carries the course. And the thing that is really impressive and noteworthy about that to me is because when he tried to stay the course in the past in his life, it never worked out. He tried for many years to make his MLB career work. It didn't work. He tried for many years to make the GM job work well. It didn't work. He tried for many years, presumably, to make his marriage work. Didn't work out. And he has the moral courage to get up and do it again. Yeah. And I think that's really remarkable.
That's what I love about his whole journey. That's why I love his story. Like, just Billy Bean's story is so powerful.
That's my theme is seeing things through.
I want to say being brave enough to think differently.
Yeah. Innovation.
Perseverance. Innovate. I like innovation. It's like they don't have the money of the Boston Red Sox or the New York Yankees. How else are they going to do it? You know, so it's kind of their, all right, let's go at this.
Determination.
Determination. Let's go at this from a new angle type thing, you know, kind of being reinventive. And I like
risk people, but you risk people thinking you're an idiot.
Yeah, you're risking people thinking the first guy to go through the wall always gets bloody.
Great line.
You know, they're risking looking like idiots. They're risking everything to try something new. You know, and ultimately it works out because even to this day, this is a part of baseball now. Yeah. People look.
It mentions that at the end, yeah.
Like, people look at these things now because it's a part of baseball, you know.
The Red Sox won the World Series 2 years later, using the philosophy that was championed in Oakland.
Because they had the philosophy and the money. So.
Yeah,
they had everything.
They had everything.
You know, but I do think it's, the biggest value is seeing value that nobody else can see. Peter Brand is somebody who has value that nobody else can see.
And he himself has value. Oh, you said
that's what I'm saying, you know. But he also finds value that nobody else can see.
Yeah, I know.
You know,
I never thought of that. I was like, he has value that
because everybody looks at Peter and they're like, "Does Pete really need to be here?"
Yeah.
But Billy Bean sees that value.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, Billy Bean also has value no one else can see.
Wait, how does he have value?
Well, because he kind of is.
We all have value.
He's kind of a what? I was gonna say he's a bad GM at first, but he kind of isn't.
No, they won 102 games the year before.
I mean, yeah, he's not bad, but he does have value. Not everybody can see because he thinks differently, you know. And everybody else are these old.
And then I think more clearly where we can fit him into this analogy is like he's the one that sees the value that no one else can see.
He takes a chance on Peter.
He's the seer,
and Peter takes a chance on people.
Yeah.
You know, like that's his reward for seeing his value. You know, like
it's like a seeing pyramid.
It is a seeing pyramid because you know, like Peter sees Chad Bradford and.
I love the Chad Bradford scene.
And Billy Bean sees Peter, and so he gets Chad Bradford. You know, like, and they assemble this team that everybody thinks is just ridiculous, but they're not. They just can't.
I would love to see a movie adaptation of like the Red Sox season where they have the most insanely huge budget, but then they just hire all these chumps, and everybody's like, "What are
like pimping?"
Now they're just to give a preview of the historical section. There is going to be a counterpoint to the idea that they were all the players on the team were obtained through that method, because that's not necessarily true, but I'll save that for the history.
Okay.
And I'll go ahead and
we can go get into.
You want to get my theme because you were done. Okay, cool. So we got perseverance, determination, willing to do something different despite what others might think of you. So a big one for me is really just like personal growth. To me, is a big theme, and you see it as I've mentioned. You see it in the character of Billy Bean specifically. You really in this movie get almost his whole life story.
You do.
It's almost a biop.
It is. It's a biop.
I mean, and you get to see him go through the struggles of just sucking in the MLB when he was a first round draft pick, and that scene where he's talking to the scouts and he's and they're just like, we think you're really great. You're a 5-tool player. We haven't seen a player like you come along in so long. And there's this great line where he says, we're all told that sometimes, Billy, that we can no longer play the children's game. Some of us are told at 18, some of us are told at 40, but we're all told. So he's told that he's going to be this great guy, that he's going to be this MLB all-star, and he just doesn't end up being that guy. And instead, he takes the manager route. He becomes a general manager, and he finds lots of tribulation in that. He has tribulation in his personal life. He gets divorced from his wife off screen before the movie starts. And but by the end of the movie, when he's taken after he becomes the general manager of the Oakland A's, and he takes the chance on Peter Brand, like we said, to go along with y'all's themes. Yeah. And by doing that, he's showing something about how he's grown. He's not going to make the same mistakes and just go with the common knowledge like the scouts did with him. There's a great scene where Grady says, this is all about what happened to you 20 years ago. And he's like, no, it's not. This is about something different. He's moved past that. It's not just about all the bad things that happened to him in the past.
Whoa, my turn.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's a great scene.
You don't have a crystal ball.
Yeah, I know.
I've been with you in those conversations at the kitchen tables.
I know.
You sit there and you tell those kids,
well, I know.
No, I know.
Yeah.
And you don't.
Yeah, and you don't. But that in itself is a great theme. But to finish up the one I'm talking about, Billy Bean, just by the end of the movie, you feel as if he's almost conquered a lot of his personal demons and stuff by the end of the movie. And that's so cool to see. He's repaired a relationship with his daughter, it seems like, It seems like, it almost seems implied that they've kind of he's been kind of distant from her and stuff, and he's repaired that relationship. And just that journey, it peaks at the end of the movie. He becomes a complete character, and he conquers his demons. And I do need to touch, since you brought up that scene. That scene also embodies a theme of this movie, which is, while we were talking about the idea of seeing value where other people can't, another big theme of this movie is we ain't always right, even when we think we're right. The scouts in this movie have this idea that they know when players are going to be good. What? they know when players are going to be good. They can sit at that kitchen table. They can watch them play in high school or college, and they know that they're going to be good. And they don't.
The scout's the most hilarious part of the movie.
Yeah, I know.
And his girlfriend is a 6'8".
He's got a good face.
Yeah.
Good baseball face. They say the most like nonsense things that like mean nothing. They're like, he's got a good baseball body. Like the ball really explodes off the bat when he throws the club head and the ball is bad. It's like, what did you just say?
I don't think I can even say this line because of how dirty it is, but there's this amazing line.
Oh, I love that.
Where he's like, he's the kind of guy that when he walks in the room, his expletive has already been in there for 3 hours or something.
It's like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
It's like, they do a great job.
All his penis.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the director was like, I want y'all to talk for 2 minutes and not say anything. Like, that's what he said, because Billy Bean walks in and they're like, when he swings the bat, his swing is really of a bat swing of a ball, and it's like, that didn't mean anything. You're just talking.
Anyway, but to finish up my last little theme I was talking about, this movie really commentates on the idea of how we often don't know stuff that we think we know. The scouts think they know these players, but they really don't. And Billy tells them that. Like, no, you have to look at different things. You can't just look at how far they can throw the ball, how hard they can hit the ball, and know that they're going to be an MLB All-Star. It's about looking at the intangibles, the real intangibles, which is different from what they say are the intangibles. And so I just think that whole idea of how we don't always know what we think we know, and that's a good theme and an important one to take away from the movie.
That kid can play.
I think
we need kids who can play.
I think when we say a name, we should all rank it, but like at the same time, that way we don't know what everyone's saying.
Oh no, we're doing. We got to.
I'm not. This is not like a section. I'm just saying throughout the podcast, like we say a name, we should just rank it to see what we think about it. Like one of my favorite characters, David Justice. I'm like 1, 2, 3,
actor.
And then we say what we rank the name. All right, ready? David Justice.
What do you mean rank the name?
Like 1 out of 10.
Oh, just the character?
No, just the name.
If it's a good name.
Oh, a good name.
Yeah.
Okay.
David Justice. 1, 2, 3.
8.
9.5. See, we all kind of were in the same area. Moving on. What's our last thing?
It's history.
History. All right, Nate.
All right. So I have
you have to head that up.
Oh,
you head it up, and I have some insights.
I have to head it up.
This was in none of my history books.
That's funny because I was like, my brain heard history and it was like Nate. I don't know anything. But then I was like, oh wait, I do know anything.
I know some stuff.
Okay. So
I don't even know why we started playing baseball. Why did we start doing that?
Do what?
Like, why did we start playing baseball? Like, how was that a thing?
Some dude hit a ball off the stick. I was like, that was pretty cool. So, anyways, this takes place.
You gotta say that again.
This takes place about 20 years ago. At the time, like John had said, the Oakland A's had experienced success. They won 3 World Series. 3 which I believe were back to back. So they had experienced success, but since then they fell off. That was in the 90s. The
early 70s they won.
That's when they went 7-50.
And then they won. All right, so the A's won. I believe it was 71 or 72, 73, 74, and then they won in 89.
Yeah.
Which, fun fact, Billy Bean was on the 89 team.
He was. He does have a ring, just chilling somewhere in his house.
Yeah.
But anyways,
but he's so miserable, y'all.
I know, but he's got like a ring and a lot of money. But anyways, so the Oakland A's had experienced some success. That was in the past. They're a very broke team. And in baseball, the teams who win are the teams that are willing to pay, and that's a hard thing to understand. But it's not like the teams. There's a certain amount of players out there, and the good players cost more money. And when you run out of money, you can't get more players. So it's pretty simple, really. Even if you don't understand baseball, it's pretty simple because once the teams that have more budget, they can buy more. And what determines that is just how much the owner has, because the owners are the ones who own the ball club. So maybe an owner has a lot of money, but he's only willing to spend a little bit. He's going to win less games than the person who's going to spend more, and that's the way it had been. Billy Bean is a GM for a baseball program that does not have a lot of money at all. And these ball clubs are not usually very successful. So he has to find a completely new way to do this. Up until this point, it's this big thing where baseball scouts find baseball players. They're the ones with the smarts. They can see the intangibles nobody else can see. And, they're really happy about that. Baseball people live in their baseball world and they do their thing. You can't replicate that. Well, Bill James, mathematics, cutting straight through that, as the movie says, Billy Bean and what's his name, Peter Brand, they have a way of doing this statistically. And in real life, it really did happen. The Oakland A's won 20 straight games in the series. They went to the postseason. They did not win the postseason. There's just a lot of other things involved, but they didn't win the postseason. But they had a lot of success, and so it caught the attention of the Boston Red Sox. They championed the style. They won a World Series 2 years later. It started catching.
2 others since then.
Yeah, they've been very successful since then. They're not good this year.
Well, I don't even think the point. Well, of course, the point of Billy Bean was to win the World Series, but if you look at it from a statistical standpoint, and the owner of the ball, or I don't know if he's the owner.
He will.
The owner of the Boston Red Sox points this out. What matters about what happened is the disproportionate amount of success.
They paid $200,000 for each win.
Yeah.
The Yankees paid $1.2 million.
But not only that, in the light of that fact, they won the same amount of games that the Yankees did.
But they paid $1 million less per win.
Yeah, $1 million less per win, and they won the same amount of games, which is insane.
So what this did was it changed baseball. Since then, baseball is looked at from more of a, and different teams do this differently, but it's looked at as more from a statistical point of view. You can run players through numbers and databases, and you can see these value, you can find a value in a team that's really more accurate than just judging what you think about a player, So baseball shifted, it changed, and it was really because of this guy, because ultimately he didn't come up with the idea, but he was the first one who was brave enough to implement it. So not only, like John was saying, this is a bio about Billy Bean, but it's also a story of how Billy Bean changed baseball at the Oakland A's, the worst ball club, one of the worst ball clubs at the time. And
they did win 102 games. They had success. They just weren't.
He said at the time.
The most beautiful thing about it
wasn't at the time. They'd won 102 games.
Yeah, but they had failure. They couldn't win the last game. They weren't a terrible ball club.
Oh, yeah. That's why I was saying you said terrible.
Yeah,
they weren't terrible.
Well, what I meant was poor. They were very poor. They didn't have a lot of money. But I think this all is really beautiful. At the end, Peter Brand shows Billy a video of a guy who hit a home run and he didn't realize it. And it's a metaphor and it's true. Billy Bean changed baseball. He just didn't realize it.
How he did it.
He thought he sees himself as a failure and what he does is a failure. But in reality, he succeeded more than he knew. And it changed baseball. It's a part of baseball history now.
Yeah. This kind of goes into the theme section. Like he thought that the way he was going to succeed was by having to win the World Series. But he realized that he succeeded despite not winning the World Series.
He did. Yeah, maybe he realized that, maybe he didn't, but it's true.
Yeah, I don't know.
Noah, I'm really glad
it's a metaphor
that baseball overall has switched to this mentality of getting misfits, because that way you have a chance of getting recruited.
That is a nail to the heart.
I've been waiting 10 minutes to do that one.
I quit the podcast.
Noah's the next freaking Jeremy Giambi.
Not Jeremy. David Justice. Jeremy Giambi. 1, 2, 3, 9.5.
Jeremy Giambi. I don't know what
the name, like how it sounds.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it's 7, I guess.
7. See, I don't know. We're on the same page.
Let's see. But what I actually really want to ask now, your baseball team, which side does it fall on?
My team plays small ball. They're focused on putting runners in scoring position, bunting, hit and runs. So it's not
it's
lot
the
like
opposite,
that. Yeah. It's not the opposite because it is very important. Getting on base is extremely important. But
teams still want to hit home runs.
What's more important is how MLB looks today, and MLB has shifted to a very home run based. They value home runs a lot. On-base percentage is gotten to not be quite as valued. People really like home runs. And, I get it because you can get 3 people on base and then strike out 3 times and not have anything to show for it. If you hit a home run, you get a run. Mm-hmm. But ultimately,
3 runs.
I agree with Moneyball. If you get on base, statistically, over a long time season...
I think historically, though, they still use the way of getting players. they still use the
I
method.
was asking
But
about a
ultimately,
specific team.
the
Oh,
way they get players is by looking at how much they get on base.
I think a big part of this, is like, but in this movie, they just use all types of data and stuff as well.
They're
And
trying
they
to
still do
buy
that,
wins. They're not buying players.
And teams still look at it that way.
Absolutely.
Moneyball is certainly
They
still in
use
play.
databases.
Yeah.
It changed the game for sure.
Anyway, all right. So I have a few things to kind of comment on the accuracy of the movie.
Go fast and fall asleep.
All right, I will. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Just go fast.
I will go fast. So I mean, this movie I kind of mentioned earlier, but this movie just shows a lot of these players that were gotten through these this new method of looking at on base percentage instead of all these other statistics and. But what the movie does not do is it doesn't make mention of a lot of players that were acquired through more traditional scouting methods. Some of these players are like Tim Hudson, Hall of Fame. I'm pretty sure he's in the Hall of Fame. He played for the Braves for a long time. Played for the Giants. Obviously played for the Athletics. He played for Oakland at this time. Star pitcher Mark Mulder, Barry Zito. These were two other pitchers that were acquired by more traditional scouting methods. And then also position players such as Eric Chavez and Miguel Tejada. So, I mean, the movie definitely, it would have been cool if they could have acknowledged those players a little bit more as well and kind of showed how it was a combination of these two methods.
Because they already had some people there.
Yeah. But they acquired those players during that year as well. And so there's again two other little inaccuracies of the movie. The real life Art Howe was not a big fan of this movie. He didn't like how they portrayed him.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Well, no, he didn't like that. He thought that they portrayed his relationship with Billy Beane as way more tumultuous than it actually was. That they didn't. He says they didn't really hate each other as much as.
But
they
it
did.
worked for the movie.
So this was his quote in an interview. He said, "It's very disappointing to know that you spent 7 years in an organization and gave your heart and soul to it, helped them to go to the postseason your last 3 years there, and win over 100 games your last 2 seasons. And this is the way evidently your boss, Beane, feels about you." As the movie portrays it. So he wasn't very satisfied.
You know what's funny though is I feel like that's exactly what Art Howe from the movie would have
That is what he said. That's kind of like what he said.
And so, it makes sense that that they portrayed him maybe a little bit inaccurately because they didn't consult him when making the movie. And Scott Hatterberg also said they portrayed Howe inaccurately in a way. And so he said, quote, "Art Howe was a huge supporter of mine. I never got the impression from him that I was not his first choice."
Wow. Because in the movie, he's not
like Hatterberg.
But to be fair, it worked for the movie. So
but he mentioned that Howe and Beam had, quote, a turbulent relationship. So that kind of conflicts. And the last thing I'll mention is that so the movie portrays the A's as having acquired Chad Bradford and Jeremy Giambi during 2002 preseason. Like in real life, they were actually on the team for a couple years, so they had already had them. And also, the Giambi and Pena trades did not occur at the same time. So those were. It wasn't like he released him and then in the movie he sends Peter Brand to cut Pena and then he cuts Giambi right after that in that same scene. That didn't happen. That didn't happen at the same time. But so yeah, just a few inaccuracies there. But this movie was praised for being very accurate to the true story, and it was based on a nonfiction book, so that makes sense.
It does.
Well,
anyway.
I think that about wraps it up. Conclusion.
Nate, you want to go first? Give your rating.
Sure. My rating's a 10 out of 10. I love this movie. In my opinion, it's a perfect movie for me because I love baseball. I love drama. I love Brad Pitt. Everything. I like everything about it. I don't have to reiterate everything I said about it.
Sum up everyone.
Just go ahead and say that I think even if you don't watch baseball, you should try this movie. It'll surprise you. It's a great drama, baseball movie, sports movie. What
You
is
said
it?
9.5.
I said 10 out of 10.
Okay.
Mine's 9.5. Just
and we got to get your message to the director, Bennett Miller.
Of course.
Bennett Miller.
Now?
Oh yeah. Do you want to do that first?
Bennett. Do I have to look up at Bennett too?
What?
Yeah. Do I have to look up at Bennett?
Yeah, look up.
No. Is he dead?
Oh no, he's alive. Oh no, yeah. Last time we had to look up the heavens.
Bennett. First of all, if you made it to the end of this, you're more patient than most people. Second of all, this is a phenomenal movie.
Good job.
More people should be
Make
like
more.
you.
Make more of these.
More people should make movies like this. Good job.
Make one about how the Atlanta Braves are going to win this year.
All right, so Nate.
9.5. Just don't watch with your girlfriend.
Tested.
All right, yeah. So I would give this movie. I'm gonna go with 9. So
that's
yeah,
picky.
9. So 9 for me though. That's on its own level. That's still an amazing, awesome movie. It's a high level movie. So I love this movie, and Bennett Miller I think did a great job directing this movie, bro. You should make more movies. You know, you make some good movies. You've only made 3, man. Put out another one. I like yours. I like your movies. The 2 that I've seen.
I realized something. I didn't say let's talk movies at the beginning.
Yeah.
So instead,
we'll say it at the end.
Let's stop talking movies.
Well, let me finish giving my rating. So yeah, 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. And so yeah, I just think this movie is all around a great movie, and I think you should go see it. Honestly, I mean, you know, yeah, maybe it's not necessarily a movie your girlfriends or women are necessarily gonna like gravitate towards, but it's still a great movie. 9 out of 10, great movie.
Let's stop talking movies.
Goodbye, people. Where's the button?
You are such an idiot.
I found it.